everyone! Welcome to Winter Crafts for Kids. I'm Miss Lizzie here at the library, and today we're going to make some really fun snow owls and paint them using some cotton balls. I love cotton ball crafts. I think it's really good for sensory, for texture, for young children, and it's really fun to paint with some things different than brushes sometimes. I really like this craft. It's super easy to do, and there's different ways you can do it. If you don't have cotton balls, you can use a paintbrush. You can use fingers if you want to make finger dots out of the owl. So there's a lot of possibilities. So what I have here is some construction paper. So I have some black construction paper to use as our backdrop because I think it looks really nice with the white, because our owls are going to be snowy white. If you don't have black construction paper, you could use blue. I think that looks nice as well. Or, white paper if you wanted to make them, maybe they're hidden and you just put some eyes on white paper. I think that's really cute too. But for the sake of this craft, to really see the white, we're going to make it like it's night. So we're going to have black construction paper. I have some orange construction paper here for the beak to put on, and some little feet, and I have some brown construction paper here to use as a nest. I'm going to paint my owl in a nest, but I think this also looks really cute if you can take the paper landscape and cut out a branch and do a nice long branch and put maybe like a little owl family on it. I think that's really cute. Maybe you can make them like the members of your family. I always think that's really sweet, but for today and as another option, I'm going to do just one owl. I'm going to do a portrait and I'm going to put it in a nest instead. So I have brown construction paper to use as a nest. And then I have some googly eyes, as I like to use in my crafts, because we have them here. If you don't have these, which I know a lot of people don't, you can absolutely just draw on some eyes, or make some eyes out of construction paper. Maybe if you have yellow construction paper, that would look really nice, make their eyes really glowing in the night. I think that's a really cute idea. Or you can just use white paper if you have printer paper, and you color, and you cut out some circles, and maybe you make one the eye and you make a little black one the pupil. If you don't have colored paper, you can just color them in. If you make a little circle and color it black and make another little circle, color it yellow and glue them together, that would be great as well. You don't necessarily need googly eyes for this to be a great craft. I have a little paper plate here for my paint. I have some white tempera paint. I like this paint because it dries really fast and it's washable, which is always great. But acrylic paint will also work as well. If you want to try oil paint, that's totally up to you, but I think those are the two best options. And then I have some scissors for cutting, as well as my glue gun, which you don't need a glue gun for this. I always use a glue gun for the sake of time for this video. You can use a glue gun if the child is old enough to use one, or if the parent or guardian wants to be the one to glue on the nest or the branches, but it's not necessary. You can absolutely use school glue or even a glue stick for this craft. So I'm going to start by painting the owl first, and then when it's dry, I'm going to put the nest kind of over the bottom half of it. Now, if you want to do it as a branch along the paper, then you can put the branch on first. It might be easier for you to do the branch first and then paint the owls after. But for this one, I'm going to do the owl first and then overlap the nest over it. But it really doesn't matter if you want to do the branches first and then paint the owl, or if you want to paint the owl then branches, or vice versa. Same thing with the nest. Totally up to you. So I'm going to put a little bit of white paint on my plate. This is really fun to get to dunk the cotton in. And like I said, if you don't have cotton balls or you don't want to use them, you can use fingers. Those are a great option. And as well as if you have an old sponge, you could cut up a sponge, or even broccoli, which I've suggested in the past, which sounds kind of silly, and that's not something maybe you want to waste for a craft, but if you want to, it's definitely great. It adds a great texture to the paper. It's something different for the children to use. It's great for their sensory when they're young. So I'm just going to dip the cotton ball right in and just kind of pat it onto the paper. Now, the less paint I think looks the best when you can kind of see, because if it's too much paint, then it will just kind of be a thick white blob, but when you really spread out the paint, see how it's just a really thick white blob? If you kind of spread it out, you can see kind of the black through it and makes a nice textured, feathered effect, which makes our owl come to life a little bit. And I think that's really fun. And again, if you don't have white paint or you want to make your owl a different color, he doesn't have to be a snowy owl. You could make a brown owl or anything like that. It's really up to you. I thought we'd make nice winter snowy owls. So I kind of did a body and then a bit of a head up here. I think I'm going to add a little bit more white, just a little bit. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it is a lot of fun to get to kind of plop this around. And it could also be fun if they want to rip up the cotton and use smaller pieces to see the different shapes and different textures that it can make. That's always really great. All right, and there's kind of the shape of my owl. Now, if I wasn't doing this video, I would let this completely dry before I continue with the steps. I don't have that time here, so I'm going to keep going, but you don't have to do this. I would recommend letting this completely dry so it doesn't get messed up. But I'm going to then move on to making the nest. So for the nest, you could also do different things with this. I'm going to cut up little strips of long construction paper and kind of layer them to look like a nest. You could use, if you have pipe cleaners, that could also work. If you want to layer pipe cleaners, that's a nice fun texture to the craft. Some hay, some string. It's really up to you. So I just have brown construction paper and I'm just going to cut out some strips, kind of similar in width, but they can kind of vary in size because we're going to be layering them. And these are great if the child's learning to cut with scissors, if they want to trace them ahead of time. And getting those fine motor skills of tracing the lines and then being able to cut in the straight line is really, really great if you wanted to do the nest option. But the same thing works if you wanted to do the branch option and the tree, because you still have to trace those lines and cut them out. All right, I'm going to see if that's good. No, I think I want a few more. You could also just do kind of like a bowl shape of construction paper. You don't have to go through all of this trouble. But I think the texture looks really cool. All right, let's see. One more. My owl is pretty big though. Just kind of roughly going to lay it out and see the shape it's going to make. Yeah, I think that should be enough. So let's see, I have 11 pieces here. So you might need about that much. You might need a little less. My owl's quite big, so I might need a little bit more. And so I'm going to glue these strips underneath the owl to make it look like he's sitting in his little nest. So again, I'm going to use my hot glue, which you don't need to use. And there's really no rhyme or reason to this in the way that I'm doing it. I'm just kind of layering these strips so it looks kind of like he's sitting in a nest. And if you do this option, there's no reason why you couldn't also make him sitting in a tree in his nest. I think that would look really cute if you want to make the craft a little bit more fleshed out in that way, so he's not, you know, the nest isn't just floating. I think it would look really nice if he was also sitting in a tree. And there's no reason if you wanted to add other winter creatures to the scene, maybe a squirrel's outside, in the tree. Maybe we can see some leaves on the tree. All right, and I have one more. Just gonna stick on there. And there's kind of his nest. As you can see, it's not anything super perfect, which is fine, because then if you do it this way, then the kids can kind of map out how they want their nest to look and where all the pieces go, which is really fun and creative. All right, now we're going to give him a face, which I love. So I'm going to just cut out a little triangle of orange construction paper here. And again, if you don't have this, you can just take some white paper and color it orange to look like a little beak. And again, I'm just going to glue that in the middle of his head blob here, just like that. And now I'm going to add some eyes. I have some fun big yellow eyes here that I think are really cool, so I think they look really good on him. Just gonna glue those on. And there he is. I think this craft is so cute. And also, if you wanted to make it look more like an owl, I think I'm going to add little, what looks like little ears at the top, like their little horns that they have. Kind of adding 2 more nubs, which is really cute. Now it kind of looks like a cat. If you wanted to, when it dries, also if they wanted to put some wing detail maybe, or I think I'm going to add a little bit of snow in the background, like it's snowing with the owl. If you want to add stars in the background, I think that would look really nice too, to show that it's nighttime. But there he is. There's my little owl in the night, our little snow owl. That's really all there is to it. It's fairly a simple craft, and like I said, there's other ways to do it. If you wanted to make them sitting in a tree, if you wanted to add more than one, if you wanted to paint with different tools, that's totally up to you and totally fine. I love this craft. I love the color contrast of the black with the white. I love using the cotton to paint and getting to work on those fine motor skills with some scissors and some line tracing. All right, thank you so much for joining me on this week's winter craft. And if you make this, feel free to send it to ecormier@drakeitlibrary.org. I would love to see your creations and hang them up on our craft wall outside of the children's room. And I'd love to see how much better you can do at this than me. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you very soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.